The Road is one of the most acclaimed novels by American author Cormac McCarthy, who also wrote Blood Meridian, the Border Trilogy, and No Country for Old Men. This work, which earned him the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2007, is considered a cornerstone of contemporary literature for its ability to fuse a post-apocalyptic setting with a deeply human and existential examination that transcends genre boundaries. Despite its relatively short length and the apparent simplicity of its plot, The Road has captivated readers worldwide thanks to a raw yet hope-filled atmosphere. Its chief merit lies in depicting, through a minimalist yet poetic literary style, the relationship between a father and his son as they travel through a bleak and hostile landscape. Rather than focusing on the details of whatever disaster has struck the earth, McCarthy directs attention toward the fragility of survival and the need to carry the inner fire of humanity when everything is collapsing. The novel belongs to that branch of dystopian stories which, beyond painting a dark future, encourage reflection on ethics, morality, and compassion under extreme conditions. Its success is evidenced not only by numerous literary awards and millions of copies sold, but also by extensive academic analysis, philosophical debates, and adaptations to other media. This text, therefore, aims to serve as a reading guide, highlighting the work's significance, its narrative peculiarities, and the emotional depth it offers. From the opening pages, The Road immerses the reader in a world ravaged by catastrophe of uncertain origin. McCarthy deliberately chooses not to specify whether it was a nuclear war, a climate disaster, or some other calamity. Such vagueness accentuates the story's universality and concentrates attention on its human aspects, as the precise cause of the tragedy becomes secondary when day-to-day existence itself is in jeopardy. Covered in ash and drained of color and life, the landscape is described with an almost documentary sparseness. Deserted roads, forests reduced to charred skeletons, and skies of unrelenting gray. In this ruinous universe, everything is precarious. Food is scarce, potable water is a luxury, and distrust prevails among the few survivors. McCarthy employs brief but forceful descriptions to convey the environmental oppression. Silence becomes a main character, underscoring the magnitude of the devastation and the loneliness of those who remain alive. The gradual destruction of nature and the near-total absence of animals heighten the sense of a planet teetering on the brink of total annihilation. This desolate setting serves as a metaphor for the human condition when the foundations of society crumble. With no legal or institutional framework to guarantee order and protect rights, survival becomes a day-to-day battle rife with tension and fear. Thus, the post-apocalyptic backdrop is the perfect stage for delving into the emotional and ethical responses of humankind when faced with emptiness and despair. At the Road's core is the story of two main characters, a father and his son, traveling on foot in search of warmer or at least less hostile places. McCarthy portrays them in a minimalist daily struggle, pushing a shopping cart containing their few possessions, occasionally finding cans of food, and constantly remaining vigilant of potential threats from others. Their journey, framed as a constant movement south, goes beyond geography. It also has a spiritual and psychological component. Each step these characters take poses the question of whether it is worth continuing in an almost lifeless world. Although the novel is not lengthy, the author succeeds in conveying the daily perils they face, finding shelter, staying safe from the elements, and the fragile security that solitude can offer. The straightforward narrative thread allows readers to focus on the bonds of affection. In such a grim reality, the child's presence represents innocence and the future, while the father personifies responsibility and a stubborn hope that refuses to die. The book contains deeply poignant passages where a gesture of tenderness can be just as crucial as discovering enough food to stave off hunger. However, McCarthy avoids resorting to gratuitous sentimentality, choosing instead to craft scenes that confront the reader with the greatness and vulnerability of paternal love amid chaos. A defining feature of The Road is its lack of proper names for the two protagonists. They are merely called the man and the boy. With this choice, McCarthy reinforces the universal aspect of the novel, leaving the door open for any reader to identify, even unconsciously, with these archetypal characters who in many ways embody our deepest fears and affections. Despite that apparent anonymity, both characters display subtle psychological nuances. The father, having witnessed civilization's collapse, lives in a constant state of watchfulness. He's driven by the duty to keep his son safe. By contrast, the boy embodies innocence and empathy, still capable of questioning the need for total distrust toward strangers and showing compassion, even in a climate that might justify a harsher outlook. In the characters' day-to-day interactions, the tension between practical survival tactics and the desire to hold on to moral principles sets the emotional tone. The boy's questions and pleas frequently challenge the father's guarded stance, reminding him that vestiges of humanity endure amidst the devastation. In turn, the father, propelled by unconditional love, presses on despite the prevailing gloom. He knows his primary goal is to keep the boy alive and, perhaps, to sustain whatever hope remains that the future could be less bleak. Cormac McCarthy is famous for his austere, forceful literary style. In The Road, he elevates this characteristic even further, stripping away unnecessary adornment and reducing punctuation to the bare minimum. Dialogues often appear without quotation marks or dashes, merely separated from the prose by a line break or the narrative structure itself. This approach results in an atmosphere that resonates with the idea of a world burdened by scarcity, where every single word is as vital as an infrequent bite of food. Though concise, McCarthy's descriptions are powerfully evocative. Recurring terms such as ash, gray, and darkness serve as leitmotifs underscoring the utter destruction surrounding the protagonists. The author's style is direct yet poetic, vividly portraying the loneliness of a given road in just one or two lines while simultaneously expressing the emotional jolt the characters feel as they walk along it. This minimalist method influences the story's rhythm, encouraging readers to progress slowly, thoughtfully, almost reverently through each gesture and silence. In a setting where everything teeters on the edge of extinction, words gain symbolic power as they become one of the last forms of genuine communication and a testament to what once was human civilization. That blend of urgency and restraint helps cement The Road as a modern literary benchmark, widely seen as a masterclass in how narrative form can amplify and heighten thematic content. Beyond physical survival, the novel addresses a series of deep issues tied to the human condition. Chief among these is the moral dilemma of what actions are justified when legal and social structures have collapsed. Aware of how dangerous fellow survivors can be, the father adopts a defensive posture that borders on paranoia. Yet the boy's perspective questions the limits of continual mistrust, asking whether it's still possible to offer even a shred of kindness to others. Another recurring theme is the contrast between the harshness of their surroundings and the enduring tenderness and familial love. In a world so bleak, simple acts, like father and son holding hands or sharing the warmth of a fire, take on an almost sacred significance. The story makes clear that, though destruction is pervasive, humanity is not wholly lost as long as sincere bonds remain. The Road also underscores the transience of life and how fragile civilization can be. At any moment, a storm, an unlucky encounter, or a scarce discovery could change the protagonist's path. This chronic state of instability weighs on those fighting for survival, meaning that every decision and every step reaffirm a sense of existence that sometimes appears to be slipping away. In this tension-filled context, readers are reminded of what truly matters: empathy, loyalty to loved ones, and a refusal to abandon moral ideals. Although frequently categorized as post-apocalyptic science fiction or dystopian literature, The road diverges from the typical hallmarks of futuristic intrigue or advanced technology. McCarthy offers no cutting-edge devices or highly organized factions. Instead, the story's tone is one of unadorned realism where technology is virtually non-existent. This choice accentuates the rawness of a world where only ruins, broken vehicles, worn-out coats, and ever-dwindling food supplies remain. McCarthy's focus on what is essential and tangible situates the novel closer to existentialist literature than conventional sci-fi. In the tradition of writers like Albert Camus or Jean-Paul Sartre, he tackles the question of life's meaning in a universe devoid of certainty. The devastated landscape reflects the human sense of abandonment when faced with an unresponsive or indifferent reality. A key component here is the concept of faith, less in a strictly religious sense and more as a personal conviction that existence is still worth pursuing. Father and son speak of carrying the fire, a metaphor that can be seen as the preservation of goodness and hope. Far from the spectacle of other apocalyptic tales, The Road is a private outcry asserting that even in the greatest darkness, it is possible to guard the ember of light. The Road marked a pivotal point in Cormac McCarthy's literary career, already well established thanks to works like Blood Meridian. Winning the Pulitzer Prize in 2007 not only shone a spotlight on the novel within academic circles, but also propelled it onto mainstream bestseller lists. This dual accolade from literary critics and the general public prompted multiple reprints, translations, and an acclaimed film adaptation by John Hillcoat in 2009, starring Viggo Mortensen and Cody Smith-McPhee. Yet, beyond awards and its big screen adaptation, The Road has left a deep cultural footprint. It has come to be seen as an essential reference in post-apocalyptic storytelling and one of the more profound examinations of the narrow line between barbarity and compassion in a world without rules. Literary scholars analyze how McCarthy's minimalism exemplifies the effectiveness of linguistic economy in conveying powerful emotions and weighty existential concerns. Furthermore, the book has ignited debates on sustainability, climate change, and generational responsibility. Although McCarthy never defines the nature of the catastrophe, his depiction of a world shrouded in ash has been used to underscore the danger of environmental decay and the urgency of preserving life in all its forms. Thus, the novel stands as a work that, although fictional, engages directly with contemporary anxieties and poses questions relevant to both private and public life. At the novel's core, regardless of the chaotic backdrop, lies the human factor, emotional bonds, moral choices, and hope. The father and son maintain a connection that symbolizes tenderness and mutual protection, even when everything appears reduced to ashes. This bond acts as a safeguard against despair and lends the narrative a powerful emotional charge. What is so moving in the book is how each small gesture or minor relief, finding a temporary shelter, a crumb of bread, or a fleeting moment of peace, becomes a grand victory. In an environment where there seems to be no room for joy, these instances of relative normalcy feel like triumphs revealing the resilience of the human spirit. In this way, McCarthy shows that kindness can survive even under the worst circumstances, as long as there is a will to preserve it. On the other hand, the brutal, disturbing scenes that do emerge underscore that humanity itself poses inherent threats. Living without rules or institutional protections can push some survivors toward either utter desperation or extreme violence. Confronting this reality, compassion and solidarity become almost heroic acts. The Road thus becomes a profound reflection on what defines our humanity once we can no longer rely on social structures. This human and emotional dimension is ultimately what keeps the novel relevant to readers, resonating with our own moral stances and experiences. The Road has earned its reputation as a key piece of early 21st century world literature, owing not only to its author's status and the awards it has garnered, but also to the way it so powerfully and poignantly portrays life's fragility and the unbreakable force of human bonds. With stripped-down prose and an atmosphere steeped in silence, Cormac McCarthy crafts a narrative that transcends the dystopian genre and ventures into moral and existential territory. By omitting detailed explanations of the calamity, the novel keeps the spotlight on the characters' experiences and choices. Its universal, timeless themes, how to remain ethical, compassionate, and community-minded in a near-total collapse, make The Road resonate across eras. The father-son relationship symbolizes not just family but also the responsibility every generation owes to the next, the imperative to preserve hope and moral guidance when all seems lost. In this respect, The Road is essential reading for anyone seeking a text that is intense, profound, and brimming with philosophical undertones. Its somber mood may be unsettling, yet moments of care and the protagonist's steadfast resolve to go on shine through the darkness like few other works in the post-apocalyptic realm. For many, the book reaffirms that even in the grimmest of scenarios, humanity can endure, perhaps by the frailest thread, in the form of love and kindness that refuse to die. And it is precisely that fire McCarthy alludes to, the undying ember of compassion, that makes The Road a literary work that resonates long after its final page. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this recommendation. Together, we form a community of readers united by the magic of reading and the adventure of discovering new stories. Thank you.